Yeah, today in this session, what we'll try to learn is, the previous session we have learned about the event binding, how we can use this $event, how it will be useful for the $event for in the one-way binding. So for sending the data from view to source. So how we can send that through the $event, we have seen it. And also we have seen about the two-way data binding also. Yeah. So two-way data binding also we have seen it. And also we have seen about the attribute binding. What is the difference between attribute binding and the property binding also? How we can use this one? Also we have seen. The difference is there between the attribute binding and the property binding. And the last one what we have seen is the class thing. So different types of class binding. So different types how we can do about the class thing. So we can use something like, we can use the attribute binding, we can use attribute.class like that, or otherwise you can use the class binding. And also I have shown you another thing, something like class dot the class name. So whatever thing. So for example, let's say that btn-primary, and you can maintain it as true or false like this. So this is also one of the option. And I have told you the disadvantages of this one. Because of this one, so we have an attribute directive. This is called as an attribute directive. That is nothing but an ng class. Okay, attribute directives are all mentioned using the square brackets. I will try to cover the directives also. But try to remember that ng class, and this ng class takes three types. The classes will be taken in the three types. One is the string form of notation, and another form is array notation, and also last form is the object notation. The string notation will be normal class, how you will be giving something like btn-primary. It will take it directly, btn space btn-primary. And the array thing means you can mention the same thing using the array btn comma, so btn-primary, like this. You can mention what are the classes you want to apply using the array notation. So each value will be added as a class. And the object notation, so the key value will be always be the class name. So that is nothing but btn, and you need to mention whether you want to show it or not. If you mention the truthiness, that is nothing but the true or false, whichever is the truthiness, so it will show you. If you mention it as a false, it will not show you. So this is the ng class notation. So we have seen about this one. So now in this video, what we will try in this session, what we will try to do is, we'll try to learn about the ngStyle. So we also have another form, also another directive. This is also called as a directive, ngStyle. Let's try to see about this ngStyle. If you go here, so where we have did, so in the category or somewhere we have did ng class apply classes. So this is the thing we have did it, right? So we also have applied through the method name also. I have shown you that how we can apply these all. So button classes, I have applied it here. And so that whenever we are trying to make it, we are making it as true. Here we are able to make it as a true, and we are returning this one. So this is fine. For example, let's say that I have a div. Okay. So here I want this background color, okay, black, and color white, text color white. I want to make this one as like this. So now here, so let's say that we have a text here. Let's try to see the output. If I try to see the output, where it can be, yeah, here it is. I want this background color black and text color white. Let's go into the app.component.html. Where is this one? HTML. We are having MV5 only, right? And why it is not coming? Okay. Let's try to keep it like that only. Okay. The bootstrap class has gone, I think. Okay, leave it. So what I want is app-create category. Let's make it as a topper so that you can see it very easily. Yeah. So here you will be able to see, I want this background color black and the text color white. Here is a text. We are able to see the output. Here is a text. And now what I want is, for this one, I want to make this one as a background color black and color white. So what I can do here is, so style is equal to normally. So we have a thing, something like background color black and also color as white. Okay. So these are the things we are having. So now for example, let's go into this one. So here we are able to apply the background color as black and also the text color as white. So fine. Or otherwise we can say something like, so here I can make it as a box. So I'm showing you the different ways. Class is equal to box, and I can go here and I can mention this one as a class, and I can use this one. Okay, so the another way is using the class notation. So then also it will work. It's not a problem. So now if you try to see, then also it is working fine. If you try to go to the inspect element, so we are able to get a class is equal to box, and for this box, if you try to see here, the class is applied. For the box, we are getting from the create component.css. This is the CSS we have written, and we are able to apply it. So through the class and also through the style also. If you want to apply this one, so you can remove these things and you can apply here style is equal to this one. So style is equal to here, I can paste it. Now if I try to see the same output, we are able to see it. Where is that one? It went, yeah. So but this time it is applied in the as an inline style. So now what I want is, for example, let's say that here in the create category component, so here I will be having a two variables, that is nothing but background color. Okay, or otherwise I can mention something like box background color. Okay, so it is of something like black, and I am having another one box text color. So this is something like white. Okay, so now I am having the data in the TypeScript. So now we are having a data in the logic file. So what I can do here, so one thing what you can do is you will try to do something like string interpolation like this, you will try to apply. But in Angular, we have a directive, special directive, that is nothing but an ngStyle. Okay, so now you can apply something like ngStyle. So this is the directive, and here this one will take an object. So this will not take array or string or something like that. It will take an object, and you can mention something like background color. Okay, and colon. So what is the thing you want to mention? Box background color. Okay, box background color. So this is the thing you want to mention. Sorry. Okay, and the another one is you can mention it as a comma, not the semicolon. So here we are giving it as an object, and here what I can do, another one is a color. Okay, so color, so this should be in the single quotes, and the color is box text color, something like this I have given. I didn't remember exactly. Yeah, so these are the things I have given. Yes, now if I try to see the output, then also I am able to see the same output. For example, if I try to change it to red here, let's try to see. So now here if you are having this one, let's try to see the output. So now we are able to see it as a red color. So now here we have applied is using this one. So ngStyle is used to apply the styles dynamically. So now whenever you user clicks on this button, on button click, okay, whenever the user clicks on this on button click, let's try to implement. So here what I can do is, so in first one it is in the black and white. What I will do on button click, I can do something like this dot box background color is equal to, I will make it as a black, and also this dot box text color, I can make it as a green or something like this. Okay, so now if I try to see the output, so if I click on this one, not this one or this one, yeah, so I click on this make button smaller, automatically see the color has been changed to black, and also the text color has been changed to green color. So this is how dynamically we can set it through the Angular thing using ngStyle. So these are the two different styling attributes, ng class and the ngStyle, so which are useful in the Angular. So we can apply the style using the ngStyle, or otherwise if you want to apply the classes, you can use the ng class. So now this is about the ngStyle. So we have learned about the ngStyle also. So now this is nothing but an object implementation you will be having. That is nothing but key is the style name. Okay, and the value is nothing but the value which it comes from the TypeScript logic. So the next one what we'll try to learn is the ngIf and ngIf. So ngIf we'll try to learn what are the different types, we will try to see it. Before learning this ngIf, first we'll try to learn about the ngTemplate and the ngContainer. So these are the important things. One second. So we'll learn about the ngTemplate and the ngContainer, which we will be using more often. For example, let's say that I will try to create a new component. ng generate, okay, or otherwise let's say already we have some components, right? User component. So we have written anything? Yeah, we haven't written anything in this one. Let's close all this one. Let's open app component.html. I don't want to confuse you. Let's say angular.json file. I don't know why this one has been removed. Let's try to add the bootstrap thing. Yeah, here, right, in the source. Node modules, it will be present bootstrap slash, it will be present in the dist slash css slash bootstrap dot min dot css. So here it will be. Let's try to recompile it, and here we have the user.component.ts. So we already have a one component which is a new component only. So let's try to clear it off. These are all the things you will, so that you will not get confused. So I will keep it as a comment, and here I will try to add something like app-user, okay, my-5, so that we can have some gap between those things. So let's try to see the output. Okay, it is still generating. Let's try to see the output here. It will be refreshing here. No, still generating. Let's wait. Yeah, it has generated. Let's try to see the output here. So now user component is working. We are able to see the output here. User component is working. Now let's go on to this one. What I can say, user component.ts and user component.html. So here we are having user component is working. Let's say that. So here I can say that this is the user component, okay, and here I will try today Leela, something like this. So now if I try to see the output, we are able to see the both the outputs. This is the user component and Leela. Now if you want to, for example, so we in Angular, so we have a special element that is nothing but a ngTemplate, okay. So ngTemplate, this is called as a special template, Angular template, okay, Angular element. This is called as a div element, like that, right? ngTemplate is a special element which is present in the Angular itself. Now when you mention this one ngTemplate inside the Leela, so if you try to see here, we are not able to see that Leela text. Now for example, let's say that we are having another one, something like this is the text or something like this I am having. Now let's try to see the output. What will happen if you try to see the output? Here we are able to see this is the user component and also this is the text, but we are not able to see that ngTemplate Leela, something like that, which is mentioned inside the ngTemplate. So this ngTemplate, for example, let's try to see the here inspect element also, and if you try to see here, we are able to see in between these elements what I can say, this one as a comment, okay, this one as a comment, okay. ngTemplate is one of the important thing. What I can say is, so you can define the template content inside the ngTemplate. So what I can say is, you can define whatever the template content means the HTML content, whatever the thing you want, and you can also mention when to render this one directly or indirectly. Specifically you can instruct the Angular that when to render. So that means it will give you the full control over how and when this content should be displayed. So now if I try to show you, for example, let's say that in user.component.ts show content, we are having a something like this one, show content is equal to false. So now you have a control over that content, right? Defaultly, if you don't mention this, if you mention this one ngTemplate without having any condition, so it will not display. So for example, if I have a condition in such a way that ngIf, so this is the thing we are trying to learn. ngIf, if you try to mention this one in a ngIf is equal to, okay, ngIf. So this is one of the directive, okay, you are able to see, right? This is one of the directive. So I will try to mention this one in a square bracket, and here I will try to show you show content, and here I will try to mention it as true. Okay, so true means it will try to show you. If I try to show you the output, so now the Leela content is displayed. So you are able to see, right? Leela content is displayed. So before learning about the ngIf and all those things, we'll try to learn. So here we have mentioned ngTemplate, ngIf is equal to, so now we are writing a condition. So now this is also one directive. So now the directives what we are trying to learn here, ng class, ngStyle we have learned. Now we are trying to learn about the ngIf. Okay. So now the ngTemplate is nothing but a special element present in Angular. So it will give you the full control. So when to render the content. So if you have a piece of content, when to render the content, you will have a control over this one. So this is the use of this ngTemplate. Why I am explaining you this ngTemplate, I will try to explain you. So ngContainer I will try to tell you afterwards. Now we'll try to learn about the ngIf. Let's say that so we have learned about this ngTemplate, right? So ngTemplate by default, if you mention anything, it will not display. So if you have any condition mentioned only, it will display. So now let's try to say that ngIf condition. Okay. So what I want to tell you about this ngIf is, ngIf is called as a structural directive. Okay. So there are two types of directives available in our Angular. One is an attribute directive. So we'll try to learn about these all things. Attribute directive, and another one is a structural directive. Okay. So another category is called as a structural directives. So now attribute directives examples comes under ng class and also ngStyle. So now we are learning about one of the structural directive, that is nothing but an ngIf. So this is the ngIf we'll try to learn. So why these are called as an attribute directive, structural directives? When we come to the directives concept, we'll try to learn. First you remember. So these are called as by name itself ngIf directive. Okay. So now ngIf, you already understood about this if condition. So if you want to apply a if condition in a template here in our template, so we will be using this ngIf. For example, let's say that in our plain HTML, if you consider about this in our plain HTML or something like that, so we don't have the if condition. So conditionally rendering, that one, it is not present in the what I can say in our HTML programming language. So HTML programming language, if you try to write all the div conditions and all those things, so now without having ngTemplate, if you try to write all the divs and all those things in our HTML programming language, so there is no way we can mention conditionally representation. There is no way to represent in HTML. Whatever the thing you write here, automatically it will try to render it. So that means conditionally rendering the component we don't have. So we don't have an if statement. Unlike if you use the JavaScript only, so we can stop the element rendering and all those things. So in order to provide then something like conditional statements, this is an Angular, right? But we are using HTML only. So ngIf directory works essentially something like an if statement for the HTML. Okay. So this is the thing what I can tell you. So now what I will try to tell you is so ngIf, you will pass a condition. Okay. You will pass a condition means nothing but how you will be using in the JavaScript. If condition truthiness, in the same scenario, you will be using like this. So I will try to show you how we can use this ngIf. So now let's try to tell you. For example, let's say that we have a button. Okay. I will try to remove these all the things. I will try to have a button. Okay. So button add user. So we'll have a class. We'll have a text with a button add user, and I will try to use button hyphen user. Okay. So now we are having a like this, a button is there. So now we are having a button hyphen primary. Let's try to make it as button hyphen primary, and also button hyphen sm. Let's make it as a small. So now if you try to see the output here, we are able to see a button add user. Now when the user clicks on this one, I need to show a message something like user is created. Okay. So user is created, or otherwise I need to show that view message click on the button add user to create. Okay. So something like this. Now I want to show it something like this. So click on the button add user to create. So now if I try to show you here, if I try to refresh, now we are able to see that user is created, and also click on the button add user to create. We are able to see that two statements, two text. But I don't want to show this message user is created until and unless the user clicks on this button add user. Then only I need to show the message user is created, or otherwise we need to tell a message that click on the button add user to create. So like this we need to show the message. So that means conditionally we need to show the text depending on the button. So depending on the button, whether user clicks on the button, we need to show this message, or if your user doesn't click on this message or something like that, until the user clicks on this button, we need to show this message only. Click on the button add user to create. Now we know that now we have seen that there is no option in the HTML to conditionally render this one. There is no if statement in the basic HTML thing. Now let's say I try to say that. So here, so let's go to here, and I will try to create something like is user created. So here I will make it as a false. First time the user is not created. Now when I click on this one, okay, on create user. So I will create a method on create user. Now I will take this one and I will go here. So here I will try on create user. So whenever user creates here, this dot user created, I will make it as a true. Okay. So now what I am trying to do here, so just I am taking this button. So I am taking the click event on this button. So I am invoking a method, and here I am keeping a flag that is user created. First time the user created is false. Whenever the user clicks on the button, I am making it as true. So that means the user has been created. It's a very simple example. Now if you try to see here, nothing, so far no problems, nothing has happened. Now I want to show this message accordingly based on the condition that if user is created, then I need to show a message that user is created. If the user is not created, I need to show this message. So here we can use an ngIf condition. Okay. So when you are using for the div, so we need to use, as I told you, right, this is a structural directive. ngIf is a structural directive. Structural directive means it will change the content of the HTML element. So whatever the changing the content of the HTML element is called as a structural directive. So we'll try to learn about that one. So for the structural directive, what you'll try to mention is, you will mention it as a star. Okay. So any directive which has a star at the starting as the prefix means it is called as a structural directive. So here I can use star ngIf is equal to is user created. Okay. So this is the method. So this one takes the truthiness. Truthiness means any string value or anything. Okay. So is user created. If is user created means if user created is true only, then only it will show this message. Then what I can do for this one? So when I need to show, so I can write another if condition for this one. And when the user is not created, okay, click on the button add user to create. So I can use this something like not user created. So the inverse of this one. Now if I try to show the output, so here it is telling that only one message, that is nothing but first time the user created is false. So because of that reason, it is showing that click on the button and user to create. Okay, user created is false. Because of this reason, this one is showing. And if I try to show here is user created, so now if I try to click on this one, see, immediately I'm able to see the user is created. Okay. So what will happen? Let's try to see. So here if I try to go to the inspect element, okay. So here if you try to go here, so where is that element gone? So actually we have rendered this element, right? So we are rendering this element div user is created, and also div click on the button add user to create. So what happened to this one? So what I can say is, in HTML we don't have a built-in if statement, as I already told you, but there are two ways we can hide the element. So that is nothing but using the plain CSS, using the display none and also the visibility hidden. So if you try to maintain this one as for example, I am having a div, this is a text or something like this. Okay, if I show you the output, okay, this is a text. Now if I want to hide this one, so what I can do using the style, so style is equal to display none, I can use it. So now if I try to use the display none, so automatically this one will not be shown. But if you try to see here, you will be able to see that the element is actually present in the element. Okay. And also what I can say is, we can also use this visibility hidden also. Visibility hidden, what is the difference between the display none and this one is, for example, let's say that we are having a class of something like my-5. Okay, we are having a class something like my-5, or otherwise we'll try to add it here. Now if you try to see here, so we are not so in between this one we are having, in between the add user button and the click on the button, you are having it, this is a text, this one. If you try to make this one as a visibility hidden, okay, visibility hidden, I don't know where it is. So if I try to add visibility hidden, now if you try to see the output, okay, now you are not able to see the text, that is nothing but this is the text, but the margin, so the margin we have applied it, right, for this one. Where is this one? my-5. No, not my-5. Where is this one? Yeah, visibility hidden for this one. So the content is hidden, but the margin, padding, whatever the CSS is there, it is applying to this one. Or otherwise, if I change it to display none, everything will be hidden. So now if I try to see, that margin and all those things are not applied. So this is the difference between visibility and the display none. But when I apply a ngIf for this one, okay, so I am applying an ngIf for this one, is user created and not user created. Somehow we are adding HTML here, so somewhere it should be present, right? Either it needs to use something like display hidden, or otherwise visibility hidden, or something display none or visibility hidden. Somehow we need to somehow it needs to add it. So if you try to see the output here for this one, okay, so here you will be able to see this, click on the button add user, but nowhere you will be able to see that user is created. So here you will be able to see some what I can say, some strange looking HTML comment you will be able to see, similar to this one. So where the ngIf directive, where we have applied this ngIf directive, you will be able to see some strange HTML. So like this. So normally this comment is there for debugging purpose only. So to help to identify where this missing element should be placed. So debugging purpose only, this Angular will be placing. Okay. So now what this ngIf directive will do is, so completely it will remove from the DOM. Okay. So completely it will remove from the DOM, so it will not be present. For example, if I click here, now immediately you got this user is created. Now the another one, so click on add button, something like that, we are able to see it, right? So that one is entirely removed from the DOM. So you'll be able to see there is no div present. Whereas if you play with the CSS display none, you'll be able to see that user is created and also that click on the button. Both the things will be there, but the CSS will be changing, display none and all those things like that. Okay. So now, so this is how the ngIf actually works. So this will completely remove the element from the DOM. So normally while building the Angular applications, we should always prefer to hide elements using ngIf only. So not so we will not use the using of the plain CSS hiding. So that is the reason I want to tell you. So it will completely remove the element from the DOM. Now as I already told you, right? So it will take the truthiness. ngIf always takes the truthiness. For example, let's say that we are having ngIf is equal to 10. Okay. So this is also fine. This is also truthiness only. So 10 is nothing but a truthiness only, right? If I try to close it, so then also you'll be able to see user is created. Okay, truthiness. So now for example, let's try to show you another thing, something like 0. So 0. So if it is 0, then what will happen? So 0 is false. Truthiness is 0 is false. So that is the reason it is not showing. Okay. So truthiness is 0 is false. So like this, any content, for example, let's say that ngIf is equal to hello world. If you want to mention hello world, so you need to mention something like hello world. So this is also a string. So this is also truthy. So then also it will show you that user is created. And if you want to mention something like empty, okay, so I want to mention this one is empty. So now if you try to see that, it will not show you. Why? Because it is not a truthy. And also if you can also mention the object also. So something like hello world or something like this, anything. Okay, so you can mention anything. So this is also truthy only, then also it will be showing. So these all are truthiness. So if you mention it as an empty object is also truthy. So empty object is nothing but we are having something, right? So then also it is truthy. So array also it is something like array also is truthy only. So if you mention the empty array also it is fine. Something like this also it is fine. If you mention it as a null, then it is not truthy. Okay. So these are some of the situations where ngIf works. So nothing but truthiness. I can't say that it is a boolean, it takes a boolean value. Anything which returns a boolean truthiness value, it will take. So this is the thing which we have seen, right, about the ngIf condition. So is user created. I will try to show you again. So now we are able to show that user is created and this one. Now you understood that we have used this ngIf. So when it is true, you need to show it. When it is false, we need to show it. So there is nothing but for this one, something like user created true, and this one is something like false. We can also use, you can also use the if syntax in HTML, something like we can also use the else condition also. Else clause also we can use it, just like the JavaScript, how you can use if else statement. This is nothing but an if else statement only. If it is true, then show like this. Else, show this one. So that is the thing, right? So we can also show it like this. So how we can show this one is, for example, let's say in else condition. So writing it as an if else condition. So let's say that div ngIf I am trying to write. Okay. So here is user created. Okay. Is user created. I will try to tell that user is created. So now if I want to mention this one else condition, then what I can do is, for example, if I try to say that here is the div, I want to show it in the else condition. What I can say is something like click on the user, click on the button to create user. Okay. So this is the div element. I want to show it in the else condition. So for showing this one in the else condition, what you need to do is, here you need to keep an else, and here you need to write else block. Whatever the name you want, you can mention else block. So anything, any name, this is a text, any name you can use it. And here you need to mention here hash else block. Okay, so you need to mention this one as a hash else block. So that's it. Now you will get an error. What you will get an error is, so you cannot assign like this to an HTML div element. So HTML div element, you cannot assign something like template ref. So template ref is nothing but an ngTemplate. So whenever you are trying to use else condition, so you should not apply it to then HTML elements. You need to use an ngTemplate. Okay, ngTemplate, and if you want, you can use the div element inside this one. So whatever the element you want to mention, you can mention it. Okay, so like this. So this is how you need to mention it. So whenever you are trying to mention the else block, you cannot apply it to the hash else block. You cannot apply it to the HTML div elements and all those things. You need to mention ngTemplate, then only you can use it. Now if I try to use, say, you see the thing, I'm able to see that, click on the button, and if I click here, user is created. The same output I'm able to show it in the else block. So this is how we can use the if else condition. So now if user is created, then you show, if user is created variable, then show the message user is created. Else block, you need to tell this nothing, no user. You can have it as a new user also, and you can mention this one in the new user. Same thing, nothing happens. Whatever the name you want, you can give it. So like this we can implement using the ngIf condition. Okay, so there also support it ngIf in ngIf. So we have seen this one, right? I will try to show you. So we have written ngIf, we have seen it. ng dev tools also, we have template dev tools in the elements. How we can check that one, I have shown you where it will be placed, debugging thing. So ng expression accept, those is nothing but what are the types of expressions it will accept also, I have told you. ng if else condition also we have seen it. So we need to use it using the ngTemplate. That is the reason I have told you about the ngTemplate. Then ngIf then else. So we will try to see ngIf then else. Not only the ngIf else condition, it will also, the Angular also supports the ngIf directive. It will also support if then else condition also, just like how we can available in the JavaScript, it will also available. So let's try to show you. I will try to show you. These are the different ways how we can mention. For example, let's say that we have a div. Okay, so ngIf we are trying to apply. Okay, oh sorry, not ng switch, ngIf. Is this one gone? Yeah, ngIf, and I want to mention, oh sorry, yeah, ngIf I want to mention that is user created, right? This is the method, this is the property we are having. So if user is created, then show the then block. Okay, then block, you can use the then block, and else you can use the else block. Okay, so like this you can mention, and down somewhere you can have something like ngTemplate. Okay, you can have an ngTemplate, and you can mention something like hash then block. So now you can write something like do user is created and also you can have another ngTemplate. Okay, and you can use something like hash else block, and here you can write click on the button to create user or something like this. So this is also fine. So now if you are having a multiple statement, something like div and all those things, if you want to show it like this, so you can apply using this. If user is created, then block, else block. So then block means if it is true, means if user created is true, means you can use it in the ngTemplate, or otherwise you can use it here like this. So now if I try to go user, so here you'll be able to see click on the button to create user. Why? Because we haven't applied a div block to this one, so that is the reason it is coming side. So you can also apply this one. Okay, not a problem. So it will come down. Now let's try to see the output. So here you'll be able to see if I click on the add user. So here see we are able to see that the multiple statements which we are able to see in the then block, we are able to see it. So this is also the another way of representing the ngIf condition. Okay, so this is how we will be using the different ways how we will be using this one. So if then block. So now let's try to see about another one, something like, for example, let's say that we are having something like user is created. Okay, and you can use something like another one, user is about to user is successfully created or something like this. Okay, and I have another message, something like div user cannot be created. So we are having some multiple statements. So these are the two multiple statements we need to have. Now these two statements should execute whenever we have a if condition, something like ngIf is user created. Okay, so whenever we have a statement something like is user created, so then only we need to show this message. So the below message also we need to show it whenever the user is created only. So here we need to show whenever the user is not created. Now here we need to show whenever the user is not created. So now we are using multiple if conditions like this. So this becomes weird. So now this one also works, not a problem. If I click here, this one also works, not a problem. But here we are applying the same condition multiple times to the multiple elements. For this reason, but what we can do is, one thing what I can do is, I can apply a div here, something like a container or something like this. So I can wrap it in one div. Okay. So now here I can use this if condition to this here. Okay. So for this one also I can use something like div here, and I can use this one div also underneath this one, and I can use this condition here. Okay, so this is one way we can do it. Okay, so now this one also works, not a problem. So if I try to show you, so here if I click, successfully it's working, it's not a problem. But here we do but now if you try to see the previous change and this change in the elements file, in the elements if you are trying to see, okay, so this one is wrapped in one div, and if I try to click here, so this one is wrapped in another div. Okay, if I try to, so we are wrapping in a parent div, something like parent div, we are wrapping in a parent div. Some scenarios will come in a such a way that there is no option for us to wrap it in a div, so in a parent div like this. So some, because of the design issues and all those things, we should not so there is a situation that we should not add a div for these two things as a parent. So in this scenario what you can use is, you can use an ngContainer. Okay, so this is also a special element present in the Angular, so that this ngContainer will not be rendered inside this one. So automatically, so ngContainer will not be rendered. If you try to see the output, and if you try to see here inspect element, and these two things are separately. Okay, these two things are separate in the div thing. So there is no parent div wrapped to these two things, two elements. If I click here, so for these two things also there is no wrapper, parent wrapper. So ngContainer will help you in this situation. Okay, so we can use this ngContainer like this. Okay, so this is all about the ngIf. So now we have learned about the ngIf. These are all the things we have learned it, and so this is all about this one ngIf. 1 second. So this is all about this ngIf. So we have seen about this ngIf then else, and also ngContainer, the usage of this ngContainer also I have shown you. ngIf under the hood with ngTemplate. Okay, so how actually this ngIf works, this one. So for example, you are trying to use this one as something like, I will try to make it as a simpler thing. So div ngIf is equal to is user created. So like this you are using, and you are trying to tell that is user is created. And here if you try to see the same thing you are trying to apply, so click on the user. So this is the thing, so click on the user. Okay, so like this you are writing, right? So now this one under the hood means behind the scenes, how the Angular will convert this one. How the Angular will convert is, so this is a structural directive, right? At the end it will convert it into the attribute directive only. So how it will be converting is, for example, let's say that, so it will convert it into, so it will try to use the ngTemplate. Okay, so we have already seen about this ngTemplate, and for this one it will try to apply the square bracket ngIf. We have already seen, right? For the ngIf I have written, for first time I have written the square bracket. So this ngIf is nothing but what I can say, property binding, attribute binding, like this, or ng class, ngStyle, like this you will be having. ngIf for this ngTemplate it will try to do, and here it will apply is user created. Okay, and if it is an else condition, so that means you will try to take this one ngIf else, and it will try to take something like else block. Okay, so this is how it will be taking. So now inside this ngTemplate you can write div user is created. Okay, so like this it will try to do, and at the bottom you will have another ngTemplate. Okay, and we will be having hash else block, and here in this one you can write div user is not created. Okay, so now whatever the thing you are writing here, so here you can write something like else no user. Okay, and here I can write something like, so for this one to write we need to have an ngTemplate, so we cannot use for directly for this one. So here I can mention it as hash no user. Okay, so these both, so now you are writing in the simple plain like this, but inside the under the hood, under the behind scenes, it will be compiled into like this. So it will be converted into like this. So this is how it will be compiled. So star ngIf, when you are trying to use it, will convert it into like this, ngIf else like this. So else block you are using, right? Entire thing will be converted into like this, and it will be using like this. So there is, okay, if you mention like this also it will work. If you don't mention, so click on the user is, if you click here, the same thing it is working. See, so for this both the things it is not, it is working on the same scenario. So like this representation and this is a representation is one and the same, but this is an elaborate version of implementation, but this is a shorthand version of the implementation. So this is all about the ngIf directive. Okay, so now what I will try to do is, in the next scenarios and all those things, we'll in the next session we'll try to see about the ngIf for directive also. Okay, ngIf for directive, so that is nothing but a looping over the elements thing. So this is the so this is all about the ngIf directive. So what we have learned today, so we have learned about the ngStyle. Okay, and we have learned about the ngTemplate, ngContainer, why it is useful, and we have learned about the ngIf directive. So how the ngIf directive hides the element in the DOM, we have seen it. Hides how the element removes. So instead of using the CSS class and all those things, how the Angular behaves while we are applying this ngIf, we have seen it. And the ngIf expressions, what are the different types of expressions that ngIf accepts? So truthiness accept, object, array, and all those things also we have seen it. And ngIf with else condition also we have seen. ngIf then else, so if and else condition also we have seen it. And if you are having multiple elements to bind under, to cover under the single ngIf condition also we have seen it, that using the ngContainer. And also how that ngIf will actually converted into the Angular thing, so we have also seen about this one also. So this is all about the ngIf. So we'll try to learn in the next session about the ngIf for loop. Okay.